Henry Fairfield Osborn, Sr. ForMemRS was an American geologist, paleontologist, and eugenist, and the president of the American Museum of Natural History for 25 years. Early life and career. Son of the prominent railroad tycoon William Henry and Virginia Reed Osborn, Henry Fairfield Osborn was born in Fairfield, Connecticut, 1857. He studied at Princeton University, obtaining a B.A. in geology and archaeology, where he was mentored by paleontologist Edward Drinkerco. 2 years later, Osborn took a special course of study in anatomy in the College of Physicians and Surgeons and Bellevue Medical School of New York under William H. Welch, and subsequently studied embryology and comparative anatomy under Thomas Huxley as well as Francis Maitland Balfour at Cambridge University, England. In 1880, Osborn obtained a Sc.D. in paleontology from Princeton, becoming a lecturer in biology and professor of comparative anatomy from the same university. In 1891, Osborn was hired by Columbia University as a professor of zoology. Simultaneously, he accepted a position at the American Museum of Natural History, New York, where he served as a curator of a newly formed department of vertebrate paleontology. As a curator, he assembled a remarkable team of fossil hunters and preparators, including William King Gregory, Roy Chapman Andrews, a possible inspiration for the creation of the fictional archaeologist Indiana Jones, and Charles R. Knight, who made murals of dinosaurs in the habitats and sculptures of the living creatures. On November 23, 1897, he was elected member of the Boone and Crockett Club, a wildlife conservation organization founded by Theodore Roosevelt and George Bird Grinnell. Thanks to his considerable family wealth and personal connections, he succeeded Morris K. Jesup as the president of the museum's board of trustees in 1908, serving until 1933, during which time he accumulated one of the finest fossil collections in the world. Additionally, Osborn served as president of the New York Zoological Society from 1909 to 1925. Long a member of the U.S. Geological Survey, Osborn became its senior vertebrate paleontologist in 1924. He led many fossil hunting expeditions into the American Southwest, starting with his first to Colorado and Wyoming in 1877. Osborn conducted research on Tyrannosaurus brains by cutting open fossilized brain cases with a diamond saw. He accumulated a number of prizes for his work in paleontology. In 1901, Osborn was elected a Fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. He described and named ornithologists in 1903, Tyrannosaurus rex in 1905, Pentaceratops in 1923, and Velociraptor in 1924. In 1929, Osborn was awarded the Daniel Gerard Elliott Medal from the National Academy of Sciences. Despite his considerable scientific stature during the 1900s and 1910s, Osborn's scientific achievements have not held up well, for they were undermined by ongoing efforts to bend scientific findings to fit his own racist and eugenist viewpoints. His legacy at the American Museum has proved more enduring. Biographer Ronald Ranger has described Osborn as a first-rate science administrator and a third-rate scientist. Indeed, Osborn's greatest contributions to science ultimately lay in his efforts to popularize it through visual means. At his urging, staff members at the American Museum of Natural History invested new energy in display, and the museum became one of the preeminent sites for exhibition in the early 20th century. As a result, the murals, habitat dioramas, and dinosaur mounts executed during his tenure at the museum attracted millions of visitors. and inspired other museums to imitate his innovations. But his decision to invest heavily in exhibition also alienated certain members of the scientific community and angered curators hoping to spend more time on their own research. Additionally, his efforts to imbue the museum's exhibits and educational programs with his own racist and eugenist beliefs disturbed many of his contemporaries, and have marred his legacy. Eponymous. An African dwarf crocodile, Osteolaemus osborni, was named in his honor by Carl Patterson Schmidt in 1919. Theories. Dawn Man theory. Osborn developed his own evolution theory of man's origins called the Dawn Man theory. His theory was founded on the discovery of Piltdown Man, which was dated to the late Pliocene. Writing before Piltdown was exposed as a hoax, the Anthropus or Dawn Man Osborn maintained sprang from a common ancestor with the ape during the Oligocene period, which he believed developed entirely separately during the Miocene. Therefore, Osborn argued that all apes following the pre-Darwinian classification of Linnaeus had evolved entirely parallel to the ancestors of man. Osborn himself wrote, "We have all born with the ape and monkey and ape hypothesis long enough, and we are glad to welcome this new idea of the aristocracy of man back to a even remote period than the beginning of the Stone Age." While believing in common ancestry between man and ape, Osborn denied that this ancestor was ape-like. The common ancestor between man and ape Osborn always maintained was more human than ape. Writing to Arthur Keith in 1927, he remarked, "When our Oligocene ancestor is found, it will not be an ape, but it will be surprisingly pre-human." His student William K. Gregory called Osborn's idiosyncratic view on man's origins as a form of parallel evolution, but many creationists misinterpreted Osborn, greatly frustrating him, and believed he was asserting man had never evolved from a lower life form. Evolutionary views. Osborn was originally a supporter of Edward Drinker Cope's neo-Lamarckism. However, he later abandoned this view. Osborn became a proponent of organic selection, also known as the Baldwin effect. Osborn was a believer in orthogenesis. He coined the term aristogenesis for his theory. His aristogenesis was based on their physiochemical approach to evolution. He believed that aristogenes operate as biomechanisms in the genoplasm of the organism. He also held the view that mutations and natural selection play no creative role in evolution, and that aristogenesis was the origin of new novelty. Published books. For the Greeks to Darwin, an outline of the development of the evolution idea. Evolution of mammalian molar teeth, to and from the triangular type. The origin and evolution of life. Men of the Old Stone Age. The age of mammals in Europe, Asia and North America. Evolution and religion. Man rises to Parnassus's critical epochs in the prehistory of man. Aristogenesis, the creative principle in the origin of species.